Hey everybody, it's Susan from Keep Going Together, and we have been thinking and talking about what activism looks like and actually feels like in our day-to-day lives. And I'm here today with my friend Theresa, who is very active in our local community. And I asked her to join me so that we could talk about this a little bit and explore the approachability of activism and how we can make it a habit. So thank you, Teresa, for
Yeah,
being here.
thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's a delight. So we were just talking before I hit record that we're both sitting on the floor, which we think is delightful. So Teresa, tell me, um, when the election happened in November, what was that like for you, and what got you to start doing actions in political actions?
Yeah, I definitely didn't do anything for a couple of months. I think, maybe some denial in there, maybe some wishful thinking that it wasn't going to be as bad as it has turned out to be. And then pretty soon after the inauguration, I was just like, oh, this is terrible. I need to do something. What can I do? Um, and I've been on the Indivisible national mailing lists for a long time, so they send out stuff. One of the things that they often recommend is going to visit your members of Congress. So I tried to get a group together to do that and failed. And then I found out about another group that was going to visit McGuire's office. And it happened to be at a time that I could go. So I went.
Yeah, just for people who
And
don't know, just for people who don't know,
yes,
John McGuire is our very Republican, very Trump-loving congressman from the district where we live. Yeah, sorry,
yes.
just so that everybody has some context.
And at that time, he didn't even have an office. So we went down to Lynchburg where he was supposed to have an office or something. I'm not sure. Fortunately, someone else was in charge of this trip. And so I showed up, I met some other people, and I brought my questions, and um, I sort of like whittled down what I wanted to ask to one thing because there were like 50 people there. I don't know. Um, and I ended up asking when he was going to hold a town hall. The aide that we spoke to didn't have an answer for that. And several other people seemed very interested in this idea of a town hall with our representative. So I ended up getting contact information of those people and getting together with those people. And eventually we put together a group and we invited Representative McGuire to come to a town hall. He did not respond. And then we had an empty chair town hall for him um, with the newspaper reported about 1,000 people present for that. So that was a big event. It was a lot of work.
Yeah.
It was kind of wild. I had no idea what I was doing. I like the whole time I'm like organizing these people to keep telling them I'm just a regular person. I don't know what I'm doing here. We're gonna figure this out together. And we did, and we it was successful. And it was
I
fun.
sure was. I want to just interject again. Sorry, but I was at the event and it was incredibly moving. And I personally, somebody who'd been following everything that had been happening, got a really clearer sense of how our community was being impacted very clearly and very directly in a way that I hadn't gotten before. So it was an amazing event.
Yeah, I mean, it was a definitely a group effort. We had Indivisible Charlottesville sponsored that. I met a lot of people doing it, and
So
it was good.
I have a question about
Yeah.
this. So tell me about the leap from, oh, this is bad.
Hmm.
Um, I'm going to get into the car with some people I don't know, and I'm going to drive apparently to Lynchburg.
Yep.
Um, and so and then and then so that's one leap to me.
Yep.
And
Yep.
then there's the leap from like there seems like there's something that needs doing here, this town hall idea, and I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm going to build the airplane as I'm flying it. No problem there. I'm sure there's no possibility of crashing. Right. This feels like a really interesting um uh uh phenomenon in your evolution of either your vision of yourself, or the maybe the difference between what was happening and the fear or the anger around that outweighed the discomfort of doing something that you'd not done before. Is that, but don't let me put words in your mouth. You can.
Yeah, let me I want to think about the first leap that you mentioned. So between thinking this is bad and I'm gonna get in a car with strangers and drive for an hour and 15 minutes both ways, and go
Yeah.
visit my Republican representative. Uh, so when I was a kid growing up, my grandmother gave me, I actually meant to bring one of these as a prop for you, but I did not. A set of books about Molly, who's an American girl, and she was born in 1934, the same as my grandmother. And so she's growing up during World War II, as my grandmother did. And my grandmother has handwritten all these notes in the books about what it was like to grow up during World War II. And so I just have this, like, I don't know, this is where my knowledge about what it's like to grow up during some kind of crisis comes from, right? Like there was rationing. People were growing gardens in, my grandma said, in every single empty lot in her neighborhood was a victory garden. That's everybody was growing food there. They were collecting things during various times to send either to the war effort or to relieve other materials so that those materials could go to the war effort, right? Like people were making sacrifices in their daily lives, um, to support fighting fascism, essentially, right? That's what World War II was all about. Um, and so I just, as things are looking terrible, I'm thinking about like, well, if all of those Americans did all of that, like I can do things too, right? Like I can cancel my Amazon Prime. I can go shop at a grocery store that's farther away from my house that I don't really want to go shop at because it's not giving money to Republicans. Um, I can read more about what's happening, and I can start showing up to some things. And I didn't think I was going to be able to make it to this trip to Lynchburg, uh, but it got rescheduled at the last minute, and then I was suddenly able to go, which, like, I don't know.
It was your
Uh,
activist angel was
I guess so, yeah.
moving the
Um,
pieces. I love it.
but also, all I had to do was show up, right? Like, I didn't plan the carpools. I didn't even have to have directions or know where I was going, right? Someone else did that, and I just had to show up. Um, and then I guess the second leap is you're talking about from somebody should be having a town hall to I'm gonna have a town
Right,
hall.
right.
And I guess that's just, no one else is doing it. And I found a couple of other people who were interested in working on it. And it took us kind of a long time to go from we want to do this to actually doing it. Like we had a lot of things to figure out. Um, and I don't know, as I found out, like I started off with I think four people, and then we ended up with about 12 of us that were working on it. So like, and people were like, at some point just had to start saying no to people. Like I can't have more people joining this group. Like I love that you want to participate, but also I can't manage that amount of people trying to work on a project. Um, and I don't know, it also like everybody working on the project was people were like very flexible with time and very committed to attending meetings. So I have like really short available time, and it's at like very specific times, and people were like, "Yes, yes, we can meet then." And I was like, "Mm, okay,
Okay.
I guess we're doing this."
Well, I mean, what I'm hearing is a kind of why not? And um and going from all I have to do is show up to, well, if not me, who? I mean, who among us has a lot of experience in setting up town halls?
Right,
Right? I mean,
right.
it's not like that's something that there are people who know exactly how to do that. Um, and I really resonate with both of those things. The feeling of, this is starting off with sort of low stakes things. Um, so so that was a big, that was gosh, when was that? Was in the spring. It was in
Yes, we started in February and then the actual town hall was the end of April.
right. Okay. And so yeah, I know. Believe me, I've got all kinds of projects that are like, we're going to do that in a long time from now, because there's going to be plenty of fascism to be fighting for a while, I suspect. So tell me what you're doing now. Like, what do you do regularly now? Um, you have two littles, and you, as you say, have small blocks of time, and um, so what does your activism, now that you're past a big event, look like on the daily, on the regular?
Yeah, so I definitely can't plan a town hall and host a town hall probably more than once a year. Uh,
For real.
um, even that might be asking a little bit much. I was also trying to call Congress like fairly often, right? That's theoretically is very effective and is something that everyone is suggesting that you do. And it's really hard for me to find blocks of time, especially during office hours, if I want to try to call during office hours, that I can, especially if I have to wait on hold for any amount of time, which is an unknown when you call, right? Every time I call Warner's office, I wait on hold for 15 minutes. I don't know if that's intentional or what, but you don't know when you call how long you're going to be waiting. One time I had to put a cane staffer on hold because my kids were biting each other. Like, and so at some point I was just like, calling is really difficult for me. It's just hard. Um, and maybe I could do something easier. Like, what if I just commit to sending emails frequently to my representatives
Hmm.
and let go of feeling guilty about not calling or trying to call when it's actually really difficult. Um, and so I started using ResistBot. And at one point, I noticed that I had sent a letter to someone every day for 2 weeks because ResistBot keeps track of how, like your streak, I guess. I don't know
Yeah,
what they
yeah.
call it, like your lobbying streak, I think is something like that. Um, and I was just like, oh, if I can send something every day for 2 weeks, I can just send something every day. Um, and so I just started sending something every day. And I think as of today, it's 106 days that I've been sending something every day.
Whoop, whoop.
I checked last night. I finally figured out how to do it. I checked last night how many total letters I've sent. And since May, I have sent 546 letters.
Oh, that's so awesome.
That's insane. But like, sometimes you send the same one to three people.
Sure,
So,
sure, sure.
um,
Yeah.
you know, and and some of those are like petitions that I've signed, right? So somebody else wrote the letter and I just signed onto it. I think that is like 100 out of those 500. Um, but mostly what I do is I'm reading something in my daily life, in the news, on social media, in Substack or whatever, wherever I'm reading, whatever I'm reading. And I see something that I think some elected official somewhere should know about. And I take it and I make it into a letter and I send it off. And sometimes it's like, sometimes my letters are very sad and they're like 3 sentences and I send them in. And sometimes they're like these long, like edited, intricate pieces that I send off also. Um, and so sometimes I'm spending just a few minutes coming up with what to write, and other times I spend a lot longer. And there have been days when I'm just like, I cannot come up with something today. I don't have time to craft something on my own, and then there's other people are writing things, and so I find
Sure.
their stuff. I'm friends with a few people who are also writing, so we share our letters with each other. So sometimes I can take something that someone else has written that isn't kind of going out to like a mass audience and can rework that. But I've written to the Supreme Court, I've written to all of our federal representatives, I've written to all of our state representatives. Uh, I don't think I've written to Trump and Vance, but you can do that through ResistBot. And I have
So
written to like our
tell me
local,
something, because
very local
I
people.
have very spottily used ResistBot. And part of my hope with this series of conversations is to share resources that make all of this easier. And you are an amazing letter writer. I have sent some of your letters on with my name on them, and I'm really appreciative of that. But I really want to emphasize that you don't always craft the theses that you are able to do. Um, so when you if you are so say you're reading something about whatever is happening today in the world, whatever explosion has just exploded. Um, you can go to ResistBot and choose to write about whatever you like? Is that the way it goes?
Yep.
Right. So you have full um, because there are other resources which we'll talk about in other conversations that you can sort of choose from different topics, and they can offer you scripts, but you this is like a DIY kind of situation.
It is, and also it isn't. So you can go, what I usually do is I go to ResistBot and I type write, and then I have written my thing. I do it all on my phone. I write all these letters so on my Uh, so I copy it out of the Notes app on my phone, which is just full of letters to elected people right now. And I just paste it in, and then I hit done, and then I send it off. But you can also, so you can follow other organizers. I'm only following like two or three other people. One of them is really great though, and said like this person writes something every day. It's the one who Jess Craven often features
Oh yeah,
on
yeah,
her Substack.
yeah.
It might be her, actually. I don't know. I don't know.
I think she does write her own, of course, because she's amazing. And for
Yeah.
those of you, I will put a link to both the ResistBot and to Jessica Craven, who is my Shiro and is one of the resources I lean on super heavily for my daily activism. So, um,
Sometimes I
but
just take her scripts and make them into a letter
yeah,
and send that, right? If I'm like, what's a fast way that I can do something right now? I
yeah,
can take
yeah,
this writing that somebody has already written about
yeah,
something that I care about and want to share with my elected representatives and send it off. Not quite as powerful as making the phone call, but still something. Um,
for sure, for sure.
And I usually do get a response. So I
Yeah,
get
me too.
responses like
Me too.
McGuire sends them.
Every
He's pretty
Friday.
good. He might be better than Kane and Warner, honestly. Um, and Kane and Warner send responses, and I've gotten responses from um,
Right.
state level people also.
So I think what I'm hearing, and one of the things that I want to make clear is that there's lots of ways of doing this.
Yep.
Um, that what matters, and in the case of contacting our Congress critters, it may seem like much of the activism that we do these days, like my little action isn't going to make a difference. However, what makes a difference is both the consistency and the volume. And so, so like you're following your people and um, speaking up about things, it can make a difference to be speaking up simultaneously with other people. So I just made a call just before we got on the Zoom that 20,000 people had made this call this morning. And so I think that especially when your congressperson is somebody who is on the other sides of the issues, I understand the reluctance to think that that's going to make a difference, and yet when a lot of people are speaking up over a long period of time, this is why consistency and doing it together makes a difference for
I
sure.
mean, it's obvious to me that someone is reading
Yeah.
these letters on the other end, at least enough to figure out which form letter to send me
Yes.
back to my email. Um, and so part of it too is like what does that person need to hear? Or what might be helpful for that person to hear?
Right.
Um, because like they're also a
There.
person.
They are a person who presumably votes. Yeah.
Right, right. Hmm.
Yeah, and yeah, I agree. And especially when things are so extreme, there's a theory in actually like in cult recovery. It's called the shelf, that you put things, little pieces of information on the person's shelf. And for a long time, the shelf just stays there and they don't change anything. But all of a sudden, at one point, the shelf breaks. And and I believe in that. I believe that that's true, not just from somebody who is eyelash deep in a cult, but well, we could have a conversation about whether what we're seeing on the right is a cult. But setting that aside, I think that even deeply held beliefs can be overridden by a consistent stream of thoughtful and well presented information, which can be written by your own self or by somebody who's smart who's also written it. So yeah, I think that's really key. Um, so what about the days when you, well, maybe this is part of it, when the days that you wake up and you're like, oh hell no, I have got like a birthday party and three drop-offs and six other things to do. What do you do when those days come up?
Well, so sometimes those days come up, and then I'm also just like on my phone for 5 minutes at some point, and I'm like, oh, I gotta send this, and I just send it, right?
Yeah,
Like I've made it easy for myself, right? It's like
right.
it's part of how I interact with the news now, I guess. Um, and I don't, it's right. Sometimes I just literally just copy something and add an ask at the bottom and like maybe edit it a little bit and send it off. Um, but then there's petitions that you can sign. So sometimes I will just be like, okay, well, what petition is out there that I can just sign right now? Who are the people? Like you can to ask ResistBot to send you the petitions of the people that you're following, and ResistBot will just like send them to you, and you can read them, and you can decide if you want to sign them or not. So that's an option. Um, I can go on Chop Wood, Carry Water and copy one of her scripts and just send that
Mm-hmm.
off. I could go on 5 calls and copy something that's on there and send that off. Right?
Right.
There's like easy places to get things to send off to your um, Congress people. Um, and so I also have this group where friends are sending things, and so sometimes one of those will just come to me, and I'll be like,
Right.
"Oh, let me send that."
That
Um,
works.
for a while, ResistBot was texting me at like 4 o'clock every day if I hadn't sent
Oh,
something yet. So
nice.
that was really handy because ResistBot
A
was like,
little
"Do you
tap
want to
on the
sign
shoulder.
this?" Uh-huh. And I was like, I don't want to sign that, but I do want to take 5 minutes right now to send my own thing.
Yeah.
Or maybe I did just want to sign that.
Right.
Um,
That's great. So
there was
so
a
and if
there was a period of time too where I was just saving stuff up. I was like, I'm not going to send this today. I'm going to save it
save it
for
for tomorrow. Save it
for
for
tomorrow or the
for
next
when I know
day.
I'm going to be super busy. I love that too.
Um,
You know, what I'm hearing that I really appreciate and I do myself is make it um remove the barriers that are in the way. That as you pointed out, you try making calls, and you've got children biting each other, and that's just not going to work. And so, and just recognizing that, and not seeing that as a failure, but as an obstacle that we just need to find another way around. And so I think that that's really key. And this is true for any habit, but particularly for one that feels that could feel unfamiliar or awkward, especially at the front end when you start doing something. So especially early on when you're trying to build yourself an activist habit, making sure that you're making it as easy for yourself as possible. The other thing that I appreciate about what you're saying that I really want to highlight, and something that we say in Keep Going Together in our conversations, is that we say, you know, just dumping some kind of craptastic news and walking away. And that's not good for anybody. That's just somebody taking in the crap and then feeling like, well, shoot, like, what are we going to do? Instead, what I'm hearing you say, and what I encourage people to do, is say when you see something terrible, to do something, to take an action, to speak up, to look. So if maybe it's something you see on the national level, what can we do here locally? What can I do in my neighborhood? What can I do in my community that addresses that crappy issue? Um, and for me, that changes my intake of news 100% because it no longer becomes this passive reception of all of the devastation, and instead says, okay, that is terrible, and I'm not going to just, I'm going to be, what was her name, Molly? I'm going to be Molly. I'm going to show up and say, this is what I'm going to do here in the places where I have some agency. I think that that's huge. So, just one more question. Um, so, I don't think this is true, but just pretend for a second that it is. That there's no impact in what you're doing. Just for argument's sake, if that was true, what would keep you going? What would keep you doing your habit?
Well, so I guess, like you said, I'm not doom scrolling anymore, right? I'm not just scrolling through and seeing stuff and seeing how terrible it is now and then feeling bad. Now I see something and I'm like, "Oh, this is bad. Oh, somebody needs to know about this." And then I tell somebody about it. Um, and I think that has, right? It has a like there's a psychological benefit to me to doing that. Whether or not it has changed anyone's mind, I don't know.
Right.
Um, And I don't know, I read an article recently that is like your emails have very little effect on anything. And I'm just like, oh, should I stop doing it? But I'm just gonna keep going because I get all these responses and that it has to be doing something. Um, I don't know. And I've met people
Yeah.
and
Very. Yeah.
um I'm I feel like I have more ideas and they're not coming to me right this now, right
Well,
minute.
let me just throw in a couple of thoughts about it. I mean, I think
Yeah.
that based on what we've talked about before, I mean, the community building and the connections that we have with others. But also, honestly, like going back to Molly is thinking, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I don't know how this is all going to play out. It's really impossible to know which drops of water are going to cause the wave to crest. Like there's no way of knowing. But for me, if I can say I did the best I could. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I worked on this all the time, every day.
I don't want my kids to grow up and be like, "Mom, what did you
What were
do?"
you doing?
Yeah,
Were you just, making us cookies?
right,
Damn
exactly.
it. No, I
Uh,
mean, but genuinely, yeah, I think that there is something for me about my own integrity that
Yep.
feels really bolstered by a regular habit of speaking up and standing up, especially for people who are more vulnerable and don't have my undoubted incredible privilege. So yeah, that I think it all plays together.
I think too is become like a part of like who I am, and that like affects a little bit like my outward presentation, or it affects the things that I'm talking to people about. I don't know. Somebody asked me at school drop off on election day if I could help them know what was on the ballot. And I was like, yes, I can
Yes, I
help you.
can. In fact,
I
I
do
have
know who all the
that
people who are
information.
on the ballot
Yes,
are, and I can tell you about them, and then you can choose for yourself who you would like to vote for.
that's genius. Yeah, I've
Right?
had
So like
some.
people, it
Yeah.
like it changes, I guess, how I interact with people and how they interact with me, and then maybe what they think about other things. I don't know. There's this effect where um, people's political leanings like reach out. It's like farther than just your personal contacts. It's like three levels away.
Hmm.
I don't know what the name of this effect is. It has a name for
Well, I
sure.
mean, there is the idea of social proof,
Hmm.
which I think is a little different than what you're talking about, but it is really like seeing other people doing it changes the people around you. The people who are
Yep.
seeing it and people who are seeing people who are seeing it. I think that it does. It's a manifestation of the ripple effect. Is
Yep.
it may feel small in the middle, but it can touch a lot of people, and your boldness emboldens the people around you, and I'm grateful for you, and I'm grateful for you and your relationship to ResistBot, and and I want an update on the streak as time goes on.
Okay. Okay.
Teresa,
And it's
thank
text,
you.
you just text resist to 50409, and then ResistBot
I will
will
put that
set you up.
information underneath this video, so people can do that. And I'm just really grateful for you.
Thank you.
And thank you. Thank you for showing up every day.
Okay.
All right. All
All
right.
right.
Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Wait.